It's great to see you, and it's wonderful to be here today. We have standing behind me a very large group of people that have worked tirelessly in the past 2.5 years to make the announcement today a reality. So let me just begin by saying that New Orleans and the state of Louisiana deserve a world-class airport. And now they're going to get one. Where many others have for years and years tried and failed, this team has, and it will succeed. And that is why we are here today. All of the members of the Aviation Board that have, in the last 2.5 years, at our direction and partnership, worked on being able to come forward today and give you a definitive plan that will build a new world-class airport for the city of New Orleans. As you know, this facility that we've been in has been reflective of the city of New Orleans when it was originally built. But for the past 25 years, it has not. It has not met the standards either from a capital perspective or from a operational perspective. That changed 2.5 years ago when this team got to work. The new aviation board members got to work. We even have an impressive letter from the Inspector General that just told us recently that he's never seen such an aggressive turnaround in an organizational structure and behavioral patterns, and we're thankful for that good housekeeping seal of approval. It has been a long, long time and a discussion that has lasted for well over 25 years about where we were going to put a new international airport, not whether we needed one. We always knew that we deserved one and it was important. But as you may recall, there were discussions about building this airport out by Bayou Sauvage and into Lake Pontchartrain. There were discussions about whether or not Mississippi, at a particular point in political history, was going to be able to move this airport actually across the line. There were some discussions about whether it was going to go in Baton Rouge, and then most recently there were discussions about building a cargo airport that would eventually turn into a passenger terminal at Donaldsonville. All of those matters have now been put to rest, and the people of the state of Louisiana, the people of the region have decided that this is the spot, that because of New Orleans' geographic proximity to South and Central America and the rest of North America, because of the unique position that New Orleans holds, because of its regional partnership with the parishes, lo and behold, we have enough space on this particular site to build a world-class airport. And of course, we could not do that without the partnership of Jefferson Parish, of Kenner, of St. John's, of St. James, and of course St. Charles Parish. One of the things that we thought about early on was whether to privatize this airport, because there was some movement around the country to do that, and we had a team that looked at that, and their best advice is that we not do that. And so we moved forward 2.5 years ago to ask a couple of questions. Was this the best facility to expand, or should there be a number of different options? We looked at all of them. And so one of the things that we thought about was effectiveness, efficiency, what having a futuristic airport would look like for not only the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, but 50 years, and how the city of New Orleans and this region could maintain its capacity to be competitive not only in an economic development front, but a tourism front. How we can improve customer service. How could we reduce cost and increase revenue? And how could we find a way to really kind of create a signature statement to the rest of the world that New Orleans was in fact and has become the city we always thought that she'd be. And so many of you have heard me say that in the year 2018, our 300th anniversary, the city of New Orleans and this region will reflect to the rest of the world and to this nation the beauty that she always should have reflected, and that we are beginning now in the city of New Orleans to reorganize our healthcare delivery system, our education system, our tourism industry, our oil and gas industry, our knowledge-based economy, and now the ability to move people in and out of the city in a way that is reflective of, we think, the best values of New Orleans. So I asked the Aviation Board 2 years ago to begin to really look at this issue. And for the past 2 years, in partnership with the Federal Transportation Administration and the FAA, Michael Huerta and his group that we have been in constant touch with, and with the airlines that I have spoken to and partnered with, I asked them to look at a number of different options. They looked at 4 on top of this facility that we're in. And based on all of the analysis that they've done, we have made a decision to actually build a brand new airport on the north side of this facility. It's going to not require any new runways. It will be a $650 million investment that will be built without any city funds from the general fund or any funds from the state general fund. There will be a small amount that we ask from the state capital outlay on top of the $650 million to do the interchange on the interstate. And this number is a number that was arrived at in consultation with the airlines that can be funded out of the revenue sources that come from the airport. And so this is one of these wonderful opportunities where all of the stars aligned, and the people of the city of New Orleans in this region decided to seize the moment that has been missed by us so many times. It will create 13,000 jobs. It will create an economic hub second to none, certainly in Kenner and in Jefferson Parish and for the metropolitan area as we move into cargo, and we also create an industrial park, and it will also be a turnkey operation. So on the day that that new facility opens, this facility will close. And if one weekend you took a plane from this one, the next weekend you'll be able to walk over to the new facility. And it is my great hope, and it is my great wish. It actually is much stronger than that this airport will be finished by May 5th, 2018 for our 300th anniversary. And so the individuals that are responsible for making this happen have been given the charge to get on with it, to make it happen, and to show success where so many people have failed so that the city of New Orleans and this region can reflect the best. It is, in fact, about the future of the city of New Orleans, not only in terms of what we build, but what it looks like and how it performs. And I have no doubt that when this airport is built, it will reflect the best that a knowledge-based economy in the 21st century will look like for the people of New Orleans. They deserve no less. It is a standard of excellence that hopefully is reflected in all that we do. And of course, it would not be possible without all of the people who are here today. So I want to thank them. At this point, I'd like to call up Iftikhar Ahmed, who is our Director of Aviation, who has been leading this effort along with the board, after which we'll hear from Nolan Rollins, Mayor Mike Yenny. Bob Montgomery is here from Southwest Airlines, Henry Coxum, who is the chairman of the NOLA Business Alliance, and we'll have the council members come up and speak after that, and then we'll have the regional and other elected officials. So this is a great day for the people of the region and for the people of Louisiana. This is a place where 80% of the employments in the state take off from and land in. And so as this region goes, so goes New Orleans, and as so goes New Orleans, so goes the rest of the state. So we're thrilled about it, and I want to thank everybody for all the work that they've done. Please help me welcome Mr. Iftikhar Ahmed.
Good morning. I don't think that this would have happened without this mayor. I was told 3 years ago that if we wanted to make some progress, now is the time because we got the right mayor. And, we're taking advantage of all of this. I know my board members are going to send condolences to Mr. Francis because it's a working board, and they work very hard with us to come up with, to do these things. And please don't do that. I would also say that in the 60s, I think there was a musical chairs game going on, and that, when the game was over, Houston had a new airport, other folks had new airports, they had it all together, and Louisiana was standing up, and they didn't have a chair to sit. I think this with 2008 economic downturn, I think there is another musical chair going on, and I hope that this time Louisiana would have a chair to sit, and that we will move on with the way we want to move on with life. And so with that, I would say, Mayor, we're going to do our best for the 300th anniversary for 2018.
You're going to get it done by 2018. You're not going to do your best.
and so thank you for your leadership.
You're welcome.
And the board, thank you for your leadership, and city council, and all the folks that help us every day. So thank you, and we're going to do our best.
No.
Thank you. First, let me thank the mayor for his leadership and vision. Just 2 years ago, he gave us a charge, and when I say us, I mean the board, and the charge was make this airport operate effectively, make it look like New Orleans, but most importantly, bring a plan to me that is about the future and about leaning forward. And what I hope that we've done for this mayor is brought back to him that plan. We've actually reached his challenge and came to him and said, here's the plan. Let me just say this, and I also appreciate the opportunity to lead. because sitting in the seat that I've sat in for the last 2 years is an honor. I have never worked with a more incredible group of individuals than this board. They have been with sleeves rolled up from day one. So the economic impact that's going to happen, the jobs that are going to be created, the businesses that are going to be able to be a part of this new building, the opportunity that this is going to create in an economic downturn is because of some really hard-working folks. And I would just simply say that I'm really going to miss every single one of you because of your dedication, not to yourselves, but to the city. And what this airport is the dedication to the people of the city, the people of the region, and the people of the state. So what I would just simply say is that, Mr. Mayor, I'm coming back on the day that you say it's supposed to be here, and I want to walk into this airport and see the future standing right before us. Thank you for this opportunity.
First off, I'd like to welcome everybody to the great city of Kenner, and we're certainly happy. We're certainly happy to house the New Orleans International Airport as we have for decades. And if you rewind 40 years ago when you had a Landrew and a Yenny in the mayor's offices in New Orleans and Kenner, they did a lot of growth at this airport. They had a lot of expansion. They got through a lot of growing pains in the 70s to make this airport what it is today. And now you fast forward to where we are today, and Mayor Landrew could have picked a lot of projects throughout the city of New Orleans that could have been great legacy projects for him. But he looked at a project that not only affects the city of New Orleans, but affects this entire region. He looks at a project that affects Parish President Brister's people on the North Shore, as far as Parish President Rowbottom's people in St. John. It's a total regional project that is going to bring a lot of economic growth into this area. My economic development team is wholeheartedly behind this. We want to see something happen to the Veterans Corridor. We're already in the process of making that corridor look good to make this area inviting to people that will come to the new Louis Armstrong International Airport. I want to thank my CAO, Mike Quigley, who meets with the director of Iftikhar Ahmad monthly and has meetings with him on what we can do to keep things going right at this airport, along with Councilwoman DeFrances and Councilman Carroll, who meet regularly with them. Councilman Benzon from Jefferson Parish, who's also here with us today, has been a major advocate of trying to do some economic growth in this area, and this is where we are today. And I want to especially thank Jim Hudson, who's Kenner's rep on the aviation board, because he will certainly watch out for Kenner's best interests, as I know Mayor Landrew has. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good morning. My name is Bob Montgomery. I'm Vice President of Airport Affairs with Southwest Airlines, and I've had a relationship with New Orleans that goes back almost 30 years. As a matter of fact, Mr. Yenny taught me to love crawfish in his backyard. He taught me the benefits of it. Over the last 2 years, we have been engaged by the fantastic airport administration you have here in New Orleans to take a look at what needs to be done. Everybody knows something needs to be done, and they've laid out several alternatives. The mayor, the board, the administration has said that their vision for New Orleans is this new terminal. And having been involved with so many projects, I can tell you that this can be done. It is feasible. We can partner. It can be done in a way that protects low fares and that advances travel into New Orleans as opposed to hurting it. So I thank the mayor for his vision, the board for their vision, Mr. Ahmed for his vision and his whole administration. Southwest Airlines wants to partner with the city of New Orleans on this project, and we thank you for extending your hand and inviting us in. Thank you.
Good morning, and on behalf of the New Orleans City Council, I'm Jackie Clarkson. It's a privilege to stand here. It's all been said. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, again, from your council for your leadership. I'm personally probably the only person here that was here in 1946 when it opened, and I'm proud to admit it. I was here with Chet Morrison, my father, Johnny Brechtel, and remember it well, and remember the visions they had. And some were seen, carried through, and some were not. And I remember the entire Yenny family that were friends of the Brechtel family, and the history that went from the whole region into this airport. So for me to stand here today and represent a council that's been proud to support our mayor in his vision and his leadership, I can reflect on the last 70 years and say, thanks for the success, thanks for representing generations of a region, and thanks for the memories.
Good morning. I'm Cynthia Hedge Morrell, and I have the privilege of chairing the Airport Committee for the City Council of New Orleans. It's been my pleasure for the last 4 years to work on the project that has come to fruition under this wonderful mayor. We were really very small in our thinking 4 years ago, and we dealt with the possibility of a state takeover. To be here today with this mayor and his vision, to look at the great possibilities, and I do believe that it will be ready on time, because I know that when he said the streets would be ready on time for the Super Bowl, it happened. So I am sure that for our 300th anniversary, we will have this grand spanking new airport. But I think that the city of New Orleans and the metropolitan region really understands now that we work together. This is going to be an economic engine. It's going to be long-term jobs, short-term jobs, but it's also going to be the future growth of the city of New Orleans. So on behalf of the City Council, and particularly the Airport Committee, we are so excited, Mr. Mayor, to work with you on this project. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Henry Coaxum. I'm chairman of the NOLA Business Alliance, New Orleans Public-Private Partnership for Economic Development. On behalf of the business community, this is an exciting, fabulous opportunity for us. What it does for the region is provide 13,000 new jobs. It provides a revenue stream for the region, for the city of Kenner, for the airport. It provides a lower cost of employment. It is a win-win. I am delighted to be here. I want to thank the mayor, the city council, the various parish presidents, and most of all, the business people that are here. Revenue stream is up 35% for those entrepreneurs. It will double once we get all of our businesses behind the TSA area. Thank you again. I look forward to being here 5 years from now, celebrating the success of our region. Think jobs, think revenue. Yes, a little earlier. And most of all, let's visit our airport and shop. But when we look back at where we're headed, it's about tourism. We've had 9 million tourists this year. We aim to have 13 million tourists by the year of our 300th anniversary. Thank you.
Just a couple of wrap-up remarks. Number one, I want to thank Councilmember Guidry for raising the issue of the $350 million investments that have been made in this building. They have been put to great use, and they will continue to be put to great use, and they were spent in a way that took into consideration what the future of this particular site is going to look like. So that was the first down payment and a great investment that I'm sure everybody agrees was done very, very well. And we have gotten great accolades for the work that the Aviation Board has done, and you, Iftikhar, through the Super Bowl. Y'all performed exceedingly well. Secondly, I want to thank Councilmember Cantrell and Gray for speaking to the issue of whether or not these funds could be used for anybody else. So let me repeat this for all of you who are listening. First of all of the funds that will be used to build this new terminal will be generated from revenue sources within the airport and could not and cannot be used for other general government purposes like filling potholes, fixing street lights, creating early childhood education opportunities, or otherwise building schools. All of the revenue has got to be generated from here and stayed in here, with the exception of some capital outlay funds that will be used to help build the transportation ingress and egress and a couple of other ancillary things. Bob from Southwest knows as much about building terminals as anybody in the country, and all three of the airlines that are the primary users feel very confident that this plan is not only doable, but will in fact be done given the size and the scope that we've determined. Two other main points. Number one, as you talk in the city of New Orleans, we focus a lot on NOLA for life and making sure that the city of New Orleans and the region remain safe. And one of the tenets is creating jobs. So if you just think for a minute about what this team has put together in partnership with the state, you have a medical complex with the Veterans Administration and the universities going up, which is a $3 billion investment that is going to create in excess of 12,000 jobs. You have the major investments that we're making in rebuilding all of the drainage and sewer systems that we have been working on that are going to create another 13,000 jobs. And this major economic development effort, which we expect will create another 13,000 jobs. That gives us a chance to put the people in New Orleans, the surrounding parishes, and Louisiana back to work. Secondly, this makes great economic sense. Right now in this building, although you cannot see it, the expenses and the costs are very high, and the revenues are lower. This new model is actually going to flip that on its head, and it's going to keep the expenses low, especially for the airlines, and make sure that the revenues are high. And that model is something that is consistent with the planning that we've done from the beginning. This obviously is an investment in the future, and at the end of the day, it's about putting people back to work. And yes, Henry, it is about tourism, because we will move from 9 million to 13 million, but it is also about corporate travel. And it's about leisure travel for families as well, because this will be the home port for everybody's uses as they travel, as the 21st century allows us to do. So with that, I thank all of you. I just have one more thing to say. Today is the last day that we will refer to the New Orleans Hornets as the Hornets. As of tonight, they will be the Pelicans. And I want all of you to remember that, because New Orleans has a new name, a new vision, and a new future. So with new Sewage and Water Board, new medical center, new airport, and a new basketball team, does anybody doubt in the year 2018, at our 300th anniversary, that we will be on the top of every list that matters? God bless you all, and thank you very much. Because of federal law, there is no way to spend any money that comes out of this airport on general government services. So it cannot be spent on schools. It can't be spent on early childhood education. It's got to be spent on reconstructing airports. So none of the money that we're talking about is coming out of the city general fund and will compete with police, fire, jails, any of that stuff. All of the money will be generated by the airline, so it will not be general taxpayer dollars that come out of it. On top of that, it's going to be about a $650 million piece, which is very consistent with most of the builds across the country. It's going to create 13,000 jobs, and of course the economic impact is going to be huge. Plus it's going to be more convenient, and it's going to be more beautiful, and it's going to run a lot better than this airport runs at the current time.
There's some of the money that's going to be bonded from revenue that we actually make here at the airport. So it's going to be from concessions money that we make, from rent money that we actually make here, but also some money from the FAA, which is something that they do around the nation, which depending on the number of flights you have coming in, the number of seats that we actually have here, they are actually going to be giving money there. And then we're looking for the state to provide a small amount to it. So all said and done, none will come from the city itself. None will come from the taxpayers of New Orleans or the region. It's all really going to come from internal sources in the aviation industry.
I'm extremely excited. I think that this community has been wanting a world-class airport for last 3 or 4 decades, and now they're going to get it, and they're going to get it for their 300th anniversary of their city.
It's going to be incredible. I mean, you're talking about 13,000 new jobs. I mean, you're talking about a $650 million spend. So the opportunities for businesses to actually be a part of the rebuilding, the opportunities for businesses to be a part of what's actually being built. So, I mean, the impact is going to be really felt around the region. It's not just going to be felt in New Orleans. It's going to be Kenner. It's going to be all the way to Baton Rouge, because what we're talking about doing is building a new economic hub here. So we're very excited about that economic impact.
How many of all the people that fly in Louisiana, what percentage of them come in and out of the New Orleans airport?
Well, you know, we get 80% of all flights in Louisiana. So we're talking about the lion's share of people flying into this city are flying directly into the New Orleans airport. So with that kind of economic boost itself, and then creating a more efficient kind of airport, a more efficient terminal, you know, I think it's going to be incredible for us.
They will have a world-class airport to go through, to come to. The impression of the city would be that much better. They will see much more options in airlines, because this will cut costs for the airlines. It will make a better place for airlines to do business at. They will bring more seats in. With more seats, there will be more competition. With more competition will be lower fares, and it will make it better for our passengers, not in terms of facilities and concessions, but also in terms of cost of doing business here at the airport and getting through the airport.
What was your reaction when the plan finally came together?
I am absolutely ecstatic about it. I think that we have worked very hard in the last 3 years to make it happen. And I think that not only that it happened with everybody's consensus. We have support from the FAA, we have support from the airlines, we have support from the regional partners, the parishes, and that is just wonderful to see.
This is a bold move, I think, and it's something that's greatly needed. You know, it's been talked about for over 25 years, what to do with the airport. We've got an aging infrastructure here at the Armstrong International. It's over 50 years old. It's a very inefficient facility. To reconfigure it, to modernize it, would cost millions of dollars. It makes more sense to look at building a new terminal. And for the tourism industry, the airport is the gateway. It's the front door. It's the entrance into your city. But it's more than just the aesthetics. It's about business. By building a new terminal, we can lower our operating costs, increase our revenues, which would allow us to lower our fares, which is good for the tourism industry because we're a leisure-based travel economy. So by enabling the airlines to have a lower cost enplanement into New Orleans, it keeps those fares low, keeps us competitive with our peer set, makes us more attractive as a destination.
What was your reaction when the plan finally came together?
Well, my reaction is that it confirms what we have suspected all along, that the north side is the best of the four alternatives. There's no way we can afford to build a new airport off-site. What makes this feasible is the fact that we control the site. We can kind of control our own destiny in that regard. We can literally put a fence around it, build it, and transition from this airport to the new airport in one day. But it's a greenfield site, meaning there's no industrial waste or there's no environmental issues there. So it makes it very feasible. But my reaction was very positive, you know, when we started to do the research, examine the four alternatives, look at all the variables. It became clear and obvious that this was the best alternative of the four.
How does a new airport help a region grow, for instance, Atlanta and Houston?
Well, obviously, the more people you can bring into the area, whether it's business or leisure or any type of travel, it's going to help the economy. Obviously, one of the things that we might be looking at down the road is more Latin American, Central American travel. But New Orleans as a destination relies on airlift to get people here. If it's not convenient to get here for a tourist or for someone coming in for a convention, then chances are they're going to opt for another opportunity or another city. The convention organizers would do that. So it makes us more viable, I think, to compete for that kind of business. It makes it more viable for us to compete for the special events that we do so well, the Super Bowls, the Final Fours, and the NBA All-Star Games. You need infrastructure. And these big infrastructure projects like airports are significant pieces to economic development for major cities. You see what has happened in Atlanta, what's happened in Houston, all these other regions that have first-class, world-class airports. We need to be competitive. We need to stay on pace with those cities if we're going to continue to grow.
First of all, people remember well that in 1960, New Orleans was bigger than Atlanta and Houston. And the one thing that each of those cities has that we don't have is a major airline hub. We actually lost Delta to Atlanta because of the infrastructure. So airports are always economic catalysts. On top of that, when you have a city like New Orleans that, as you know, got the World Tourism Award last year, having a great airport that's convenient, that people can fly in and out of, is not only good for travelers, not only good for corporate, which we're going to have a lot more of, but also good for the passengers. So people here can get a taste of what kind of a new airport looks like based on the minor renovations that we've done here. Can you imagine what a brand new airport's going to look like? It's going to have 32 gates. It's going to be closer to the interstate. It's going to be a lot easier to move around. And as I said, the revenues coming out of it are going to be higher and the costs are going to be low, which means that the cost of airline tickets, right, it's not going to have a major impact on that. And the cost per enplanement, which is what the airlines really care about, is going to be more efficient and lower. And really, just from a green perspective, it's going to be a well-designed and well-running airport.
And this